everyone, and welcome back to another Author Spotlight interview. This is Brendalyn Mantianor, and today we have a new author who's going to be sharing her book and a little bit more about herself. So without further ado, let us introduce Erin Lee. Hi, Erin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. So, like usual, we are going to be starting with a little game. So, we're going to start with an icebreaker, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then we're going to do a this and that game, and then we'll start our interview.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So, I guess my question I'll ask you is, oh, hold on. Yes. What's your favorite TV show?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Right now I'm obsessed with Handmaid's Tale, and I'm just kind of like binging it, and I'm almost done, and it's super intense. But I love like the woman empowerment in it. So that's what I'm binging right now on Netflix.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks. How many places have you lived?
I have lived, I've lived in a few locations close to Cornwall, and I actually lived in England for a year. And before that, I lived in Scotland for a month on Team Canada for dance. And in between those two, I did live in Switzerland for 3 weeks with my team. Again, for Team Canada for Highland Dance. So I've been around a little bit, and in between then, we sort of use that as an excuse to travel everywhere. So it's been fun.
Oh, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Do you have any hidden talents?
Ooh. Well, what I don't really share on my author account is that I do sing in a band with my two sisters. So we haven't been able to do it in public because of COVID in the last 2 summers, but we do have the Lee Sister Band, and we travel around and we just sing on sunny restaurant patios. So that's pretty fun.
Oh, great. Thank you. And I guess I'll ask you one more question. What would you describe a perfect day?
A perfect date?
Day. Sorry.
A perfect day. I have really been enjoying waking up and just going straight to my studio, doing work with coffee, and then going out and gardening lately. And because I'm off for the summer right now, I've been able to sort of combine working outside, going for my runs, and biking, and then doing a lot of my author work on the side as well.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to go to our next little game of this and that. So I'm going to give you 2 options, and you're going to tell me which one you prefer best. Do you prefer salty or sweets?
Definitely salty. I love chips.
Oh, that's good. Do you prefer the rain or snow?
Ooh, I would think the rain. I'm not a big fan of the cold, and I am that person that's always cold. So I would say the rain.
Thank you. Do you prefer chocolate or vanilla?
I would say normally I'm a chocolate person, but because I'm lactose intolerant, I should say vanilla.
Okay, perfect. And my last question for you, do you prefer the beach or mountains?
I love the beach. I am addicted to the sun, so I have to say the beach and the ocean.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I believe this is our time to do the interview. So I have my questions here, and I'll just ask them, and then you can feel free to answer them as you wish. So when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
So that was from a really young age. My parents are both teachers, so they taught me to read and write from a very young age. And after that, I was just obsessed with the library. I was reading all the time. Roald Dahl and Robert Munsch were 2 of my favorite authors. And after that, I just started writing these novels when I was about 7. And I still have a big bin in my closet just filled with these novels of these crazy stories. I had a really big imagination. And I started going to workshops and courses and conferences just trying to fill my brain with knowledge of how to write. I just thought it was so cool that you could take this idea in your head, a tangible book and a story. And when I was in elementary school, we were reading Tunnels of Time by Mary Bishop. She's a Canadian author. She lives in Saskatchewan. And we actually decided we were going to fundraise money to fly her to our school and to meet us. And so that was an amazing experience. We raised money, we flew her, and we got to spend time with her for about a week. She taught us a lot of workshops, and she actually gave me one of her books, and she wrote a little message in it. And it said, Erin, I hope that you fulfill your dream of becoming a writer. That was 20 years ago. And I actually just stumbled upon that book a few months ago, and I opened it up and I had totally forgot about that message. But it was just this crazy full circle of how this author wrote me a message 20 years ago saying, I hope that you can become an author one day. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you. My next question is, tell us about your first published book and what was the journey like?
So as I mentioned, I had lived in England about 6 years ago. And during that time, I was teaching a grade 1 class. And I came back home after a year and I started supply teaching because I had to start all over again with my teaching contract in Canada. So I was supply teaching. I was teaching every grade, every age group, different schools. And it was at that time where I started to formulate a story in my head based off of sort of the common lessons I was teaching kids. And I don't necessarily mean math and science, but values and morals, how to be kind, how to be inclusive, just lessons I was teaching kids on a daily basis. And I turned that into my story. This is my first story, Maggie the Magnificent. And this was 5 years ago. And I tried to get it published. I decided I wanted to publish it traditionally. So I pitched my manuscript and my cover letter to many, many, many different publishers. And I got rejection after rejection. Traditional publishers don't like to take their chance on a debut author because, of course, they'd like to know that they can make money off of you. And that was expected. And so probably after about 6 months of trying really hard, I put down that dream for a little bit. And I told myself I was definitely going to come back to it. And I got really busy with other things. I had little side businesses on the go, and I got a full-time teaching contract in Cornwall where I live. So I stopped for a little while, and it wasn't until the pandemic happened where I sort of realized that, okay, I need to pull out some old dreams and ignite this again. So I found a really good publisher who I thought was a good fit for my book, and I pitched my manuscript to them. They loved it, and they sent me a contract, and I signed that contract, and then the journey began. I will say that I actually illustrated this book as well. I am not an illustrator, but I do have 6 years of university experience as my degree was visual arts, fine arts. So I am an artist, and I did not ask them if I could illustrate it. I simply sketched what I thought Maggie should look like, because by this time, after 5 years of Maggie in my head, I really had a very vivid idea of what I thought she should look like. So I said to my publisher, I said, can you get me one of your illustrators to make Maggie like this with red hair, freckles, because she's actually based off of someone I know. And they said, we want you to illustrate it. We think these sketches are amazing. And I was really taken back, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to try. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was so challenging because I had to learn about all these new tools, and I had to, talk to graphic designers, pick their brains, and essentially learn a whole nother media. But I came up with Maggie the Magnificent. It took me 8 months to illustrate, and it's one of the most rewarding things. I'm so happy that I did not hire someone else to illustrate my dream, because every single page and every single action and the look of Maggie is exactly what I had envisioned for 5 years. And I incorporated a lot of really special tidbits into the book, little details that are important to me, such as my own friends and my school that I teach at and things like that, just special little details. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hired somebody else. So it's pretty cool. And then a few months later, I actually published the French version as well, because I intended this to be a tool that teachers could use in their classrooms to teach morals. But I had a lot of French teachers saying, well, what about my French class? So I hired a professional translator, and then a few months later it came out in French.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was a very neat experience. It was presented a lot of challenges, but it was very, very rewarding. And now, hopefully within the next week, we're going to be launching my next book out of season. So this is my next book out of season. I did hire an illustrator for this book, just because I was back teaching full time in the classroom at this point, and I wanted to really be able to focus on my marketing instead of illustrating. So Avira Das, she's from India. She lives in India, and she is illustrating this book. So she's done a phenomenal job. So I'm really excited to launch that within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, great. Thank you. My next question is, what are you working on now that you would like to share with today's viewers?
So I've incorporated a lot of products into my books. And for example, you'll see this little bow right here on my next character, Winnie. I've actually collaborated with other businesses to design that bow. So you'll see it right here. We've turned it into a product. It's a little bit hard to see with the light. But essentially, so many things that I've placed in the story, I've asked my illustrator to place in the story, I've turned it into products. I also have the Winnie stuffed doll right here. She just came in, and I have some other products on the way. So I'm collaborating with a lot of local small businesses to do that. And I also wanted to note that a portion of these products are going to be donated towards charity. I've done previous work where I've been selling t-shirts that have to do with my Maggie books and donating to a local organization here in Cornwall. And I want to continue to do things like that. So that's pretty exciting. That's what I'm working on right now. And then secondly, I've been developing teaching products. I design teaching products. So I did that for my first book, where for a couple of dollars, teachers can go on my website, buy these teaching resources. And essentially what they are is they're worksheets, activities of science, math, music, art, writing, all different subjects, catering to all different abilities and all different age groups. And I make these resources myself, and teachers buy them and they can use them in the classroom. So like I said, I developed resources for my first book, and right now I'm about to launch, before school starts, resources for my second book, a big bundle. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. And I'm making it a very low cost because I know what it's like to be a teacher and spend money on resources. So I'm not really doing it to make money. I'm doing it to hopefully teachers can use it as helpful tools in their classroom.
Yeah, great. And on behalf of teachers, thank you for that, because it is hard to, find a resource you want, but it's very hard to put money down on all the things you need also. So
exactly. And I try to make resources that are really useful in the classroom and low prep, because I know we're teachers, we're busy, we don't always have time. And sometimes we want things that, we can print on the go. And so I've worked hard to try to prep that so that, it saves a lot of work for other teachers. And I'm trying to make it as useful as possible. So I thought, how would I use this? I'd want it to look like this or this or this. I'd want it to be modified, for maybe this type of child, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to be using it in my class for, the first couple of weeks of school, and hopefully other teachers can too.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. My next question is, what do you think makes a good story?
So I think that to make a good story, it needs to be a message that is important to you as a writer. So think about what sorts of things you believe in, what is an important message that you want to convey, and what is important to your target audience as well. Because you have to consider what, your target audience would want to listen to. And I think it's pretty evident when an author writes about something and they don't stand by it or they don't believe in it themselves, that comes through. So think of what's important to you and put it into a story. So between my two books, there's a lot of layers to unpack in these books. Like I said, values about, kindness, equality, acceptance, forgiveness, communication, things like that. Things that I are to me, and I think would really be important to other teachers or parents, to instill in their children. And at the same time, I've made it colorful and funny for the children as well. So those are sort of powerful messages that I stand behind. And when you believe in something, you get others to believe in it too. They follow along and they support you. So that would be my little tidbit.
Thank you. And my last question here is, what do you hope your readers take from this story?
I have, like I said, my story is sort of multi-layered, so that hopefully everyone can see themselves in my character in some sort of way. Whether you're a parent or a 5-year-old child, and no matter where you come from and no matter who you are, I hope that I've incorporated, stories or sort of parts of my book that everybody can relate to in some sort of way. If you're a parent, maybe it sort of gives you a flashback of something special that happened to you when you were a child, or your relationship that you have with your child. And maybe this will make more sense to you once you read, once of our viewers read the book, because there's a very strong parent-daughter relationship in the book. But that is my hope, was that, I've included so many different kinds of characters with so many different lessons that hopefully everybody can relate to my book in some sort of way.
Yeah, perfect. Well, those are all the questions I have for you. Now the ball's in your court. What would you like to do now? Would you like to maybe talk more about your books or where they can get the books? So this time is to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just wanted to read maybe the back of the book to sort of show our viewers what's coming. We're working on getting a launch date for this book, which will hopefully be in the next week. We're going to know more shortly. But essentially, it's just, the back of the book says, meet Winnie. She's the most popular girl in school. Everyone wants to eat lunch with Winnie, dress like Winnie, and play with Winnie. But there's more to Winnie than you think. In fact, this girl has a deep, dark secret that is about to be revealed. On a quest to find herself, Winnie will be forced to make some big decisions about who she really wants to be. So this book is very much about identity and learning to feel comfortable in your own skin. Winnie changes herself. You're going to see that she's very fashionable, and there's going to be a lot of very funny costume changes in the book. And she's essentially desperate to for people to like her. And again, this is sort of an issue that I see in my own classroom and throughout school and even throughout adulthood is sometimes an individual might rely too much on the opinions of others to formulate their own identity. And so I wanted to tell my students that it's okay to be yourself. You don't have to seek other people's approval. But at the same time, I also want to, teach lessons about acceptance. No two people are alike. And I learned that pretty quick, teaching abroad and teaching back home. We're all different. We all have our strengths and things that we're working on. So there's a very special part in the story, and I've worked very hard not to reveal it to any viewer. So I've been careful about the pictures I post. But it's a very special moment in the story where Winnie learns about who she is and where she comes from, and she learns how to love herself. And she has a choice to make. Is she going to continue to change herself to, regain her popularity and hope that people will like her, or is she just going to say, this is me, whether you like it or not? So I'm really excited for this. The whole book is rhyming. So it's very, very fun rhymes. And I've also made, like I said, a lot of different activities to go along. Teachers can use it to go along with the book in their own classroom. But also parents can use it at home too. It's a great nighttime story. Again, it's about a parent and their child and the relationship that they have. So hopefully a lot of families can relate to it in all sorts of ways.
Yeah, Of course. Thank you. And so if somebody would like to have this book, I know it's not out yet and it's coming, but where could they go?
So it will be available on Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. And it's also going to be available Barnes & Noble online, Walmart online, I believe Walmart.com and .ca, Target, and it's also available in local bookstores around the SDNG and Cornwall area. So if you are local, I encourage you to check it out at Kids Corner on Pitt Street. In the bookstores, all of the books are signed already. So that's kind of a nice little extra bonus. And speaking of bonus, I almost forgot to mention that the back of every single book has comprehension questions. So I have actually come up with very open-ended, critical questions that really encourage dialogue between, teacher and student, and it really encourages the child to really think in depth about, what's happening in the book, what's happening in my own life, how do I relate to Winnie, what will Winnie do next? So every single book at the back has a set of comprehension questions for teachers or parents to use and encourage dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Great, wonderful. And would you like to read maybe a little snippet of the book?
Sure, I can absolutely do that. So I'll just read a couple of pages because after that, a little her secret gets revealed, and I can't reveal the secret yet until people read the book.
Mm-hmm.
As the bus reached the curb, the kids ran as a flock. Leaving their games, they were ready to gawk. "Here she comes," someone yelled as the bus driver stopped. When she started off the bus, every jaw quickly dropped. "Who's this girl, you may ask? Why the fortune and fame?" Well, I'll tell you right now. Winnie is her name. Winnie was striking, an image of gold, an icon of fashion sporting trends new and old. There was never a day where she wasn't her best, for her shoes always matched every bow on her dress. She'd wear dazzling diamonds and sparkles for days, faux fur with feathers, or classy berets. "Come sit with me, Winnie," each child would say. "Eat lunch with me, Winnie. At recess, let's play." But there's more to this book as the story unfolds. Deep down, our girl Winnie had a secret untold.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'll stop it because I have not revealed what her dark secret is, but it is the reason why her reputation goes down, and then she's got a lot of thinking and problem solving to do.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I actually see comments coming. Well, I have two here.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's saying hi. And I have a question here for you. It says, Erin Lee, are you currently writing anything?
That's a really good question. So I actually have my next story written as well. And this one I am so excited for because it is a story. It's a true story. It happened to me when I was 4 years old, and I remember it very vividly. But it's about my roots and my culture, my Canadian culture. And it's a story, I'll just say it very quickly. It's just a story about when I used to walk through the woods with my dad. We used to walk through the trails, and it's when I saw my very first moose. And I thought it would be this big, scary monster. And in my mind, I was just envisioning what it was going to look like. And it ended up being this gorgeous, gentle giant. So it's sort of a moment I shared with my dad, and I always knew I would write a story about it one day. But again, I tie it into something educational because the character and their father see so many different animals while they're searching for the moose. So they'll see a raccoon, a chickadee, a porcupine. They study the footprints, they study the quills. And this one's going to have a big bonus pack at the back about just different facts about Canadian animals, where they live, their habitats, and there's going to be a ton of stuff involved with that. So it's going to be rhyming, and it's a really special story. So I'm really excited for that one. I'm currently working on hiring an illustrator because I would prefer to get someone who was Canadian and could, depict all the Canadian of the forest and the animals and things like that. So we're working on that currently. And I do have another story after that, but that one I'm still working on. That one's just going to be a really funny one. So I'm always writing.
That's great. Perfect. And so if somebody would like to connect with you, where could they go? Do you have any social media?
Yes, so I do have an Instagram. It is Erin Lee Author. That's my Instagram handle. And I also have a website. I'm currently working on uploading all my products on my website. So you'll be able to grab links to get my book, or you'll be able to get my resources or my products. It's erinleeauthor.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I learned a lot about you, which is great. And I love how you're always, despite you working on your books, you're always trying to find things to give back to your readers or to give resources to teachers and parents, which is a really great thing. So I thank you a lot for that. And thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so appreciative. And if anyone would like to go ahead and join my newsletter, as soon as you go on my website, the newsletter pops up, so you can stay tuned for upcoming products or charity work or resources or anything like that. Thank you again so much. I really enjoyed being here.
My pleasure. Well, have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, bye. So that was Erin Lee and her book. She shared a lot about herself. If you are hoping to get her upcoming book, which is out of season, I will share again the title so you can see it. Remember, it is available on Barnes & Noble, Target, Amazon, and Walmart, as well as the local bookstores that she mentioned. And if you are looking to communicate with her, feel free to go to her website. If you look into the description, her website's there too, as well as her Instagram. And make sure that if you don't want to miss anything coming out that she has planned, that you go on her website and sign up for her newsletter. So thank you, everyone, for being here. We are going to have another interview again tomorrow. It's been a busy week, but it's been a pleasure to do this. And I hope you guys all have a great day. God bless. Bye.